Okay, I have a good one for you guys today. This is a do it with me type of segment, and this one could literally change your life. Hey you guys, welcome to Breaking the Cycle. My name is Tracy. I am a licensed therapist in long-term recovery, and Breaking the Cycle is where I share my experiences and tips to help you build a happy and successful life after addiction. So today we are going to be talking about our 6 pillars, your 6 pillars personally, and figuring out what you have, what you're missing, how that impacts you, and how to fix it. If you are not familiar with the 6 pillars, please go back and watch the video that I released a week or so ago. It is called The Number One Cause of Relapse in America, and it goes over the 6 pillars with you. Real quick before we get started, I just want to tell you guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being so supportive of me. I really appreciate every single one of you. If you would like to check me out on any other platforms, I do have Facebook and Instagram. My Instagram is a mental health challenge of sorts. If you check in there just a few minutes every morning, it gives you a really quick way that you can stay on top of your mental health through journal prompts and action steps. I also have some support groups and really exciting services coming out soon that will allow me to work with you a little more closely. So before we get started, I want to let you know that there is a worksheet down below this video. You can print it out for free. Please print it out prior to this video. Grab a pen, grab some tea, some coffee, whatever, and just have a seat and be prepared to kind of go through this worksheet with me as we go through the video. Because in this video, you are going to be examining your 6 pillars personally and how you can improve upon those to change your life. So just to give a quick recap, the 6 pillars are 6 crucial components of our life in which we find fulfillment, happiness, and that long-term recovery. Without these 6 things in your life, it's going to be very difficult to stay clean. It's going to be very difficult to stay happy and healthy and resilient. And these 6 pillars are based loosely off of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Again, check out the other video if you need more of an explanation on what the 6 pillars are. If you have seen the video, do you remember what they were? Do you remember what the 6 pillars were? Okay, I'll remind you. Honestly, every time I go through this list, I forget at least one, so I have to write them down in advance. Okay, so number 1, we have purpose. Finding a purpose for your life that is greater than yourself or outside of yourself. Number 2 is support. Having a good support system and a community that you feel like you are a part of. Number 3 is separation from negative influences. Number 4 is the practical aspects. That is your financial security, your job security, safety, and things like that. Number 5 is goals and moving forward. And number 6 is adventure. And finding ways to fulfill your soul and bring excitement into your life that will not send you to prison. So without these things in your life, without these 6 pillars being fulfilled in your life, you may feel broken, depressed. You may feel like there is just something missing in life, but you're not sure what it is. You may feel unwhole, or you may feel like you just can't get to a better place in life no matter how hard you try. And lacking in these 6 pillars is one of the number 1 causes of relapse and failed attempts at sobriety. These 6 pillars represent our basic needs as a human being. And if these basic needs are not being met, that is going to keep us stressed, keep us craving, keep us unhappy in our lives, and continually at risk for relapse. So today we're going to go through your personal 6 pillars, ID where you're doing well, where you could use improvement. So print out the worksheet. If you can't print out the worksheet for whatever reason, just grab a piece of paper and you can kind of mark some different columns on it, kind of like this. and use this sheet as we go through these pillars. Go ahead and pause now if you need to print your worksheet, get set, come back when you're ready. Save this video for later if you're not in a good place to go through this sheet right now, because we're about to go through these one by one. And let me remind you also that these 6 pillars are very much what got me to 10 years in recovery. I remember someone asking me, what kept you clean? What changed for you? How were you able to reach this far in recovery and be so successful in recovery? And I really thought about that question, and these 6 pillars are what I came up with. These 6 things are what kept me in recovery and helped me be successful in recovery. And I know for a fact that if I can do it, then you can too. Okay, so number 1, the first pillar is purpose, right? Why is having a purpose in your life important? How does that impact you in your recovery? Most of us who struggle with addiction also struggle with self-esteem and self-worth. And oftentimes we're not enough for ourselves to stay clean. And that's sad to say, but a lot of times that's the case. So sometimes we need a purpose outside of ourselves to keep us going when we don't feel like we can keep going. So let me ask you, do you feel like you have a purpose in your life right now? Do you feel like you know what your purpose is? Do you know why you're here? Do you know why you do what you do and how you spend your days? And to figure this question out, you can ask yourself, why do I get out of bed in the morning? What is it that gets me out of bed? Why do I keep going when I feel like I can't keep going? Why am I here? What do I want to accomplish before I am done here on earth? Maybe that is because you want to travel the world. Maybe it's because your mom is elderly and she needs your help taking care of her. Maybe it's because you have children and they need you. Maybe you really like your job. Your job is meaningful to you and you make a difference there. Maybe you're very passionate about animals and rescuing dogs from the shelter. It could be a million different things. So if you have an answer to that question right now, go ahead and write it down on the sheet. If you don't have an answer to that question right now, that's okay. This is something that I really want you to hear right now, okay? If you don't have an answer to that question right now, that is okay. It is actually more common than you realize. And these answers will come to you in time. So if you don't have an answer to that question, I just want you to focus on what your purpose is today, just today. Maybe that is to be a good parent. Maybe it's to show up at work. Maybe it's to stay clean. It could be a million different things. But your presence here impacts other people. And you're making a difference in other people's lives, whether you realize it or not. Number 2 on this worksheet is support and community. Having a good support system and feeling like you're part of something. Feeling like there is a community that you belong to. Because obviously when we feel like an outsider, when we feel like we don't fit in anywhere, when we feel like nobody cares about us, that doesn't give us a lot of motivation to try hard, right? So I want you to take a look at your life and identify your support system. Who are your people? If you have a flat tire and you are stuck on the side of the road, who are you going to call? Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a spouse. And then additionally, I want you to look at your life and think about if there are any community support systems you are a part of, okay? Do you go to AANA meetings, Celebrate Recovery meetings, any kind of meetings? Do you play sports? Do you do taekwondo or play volleyball? Do you ride motorcycles with a group of friends every week? Do you race? Are you a volunteer fireman? Are you a part of a church or a book club or anything like that? I don't know if book clubs are still a thing anymore, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? Is there anything that you are a part of? Maybe it's a workout group. Maybe you go to the Y and you do a spin class with your girls every Saturday. Is there a community that you feel like you are a part of? Now, if you don't have a support system right now, that's okay too. But it is important that we find one. And you absolutely can find one. Maybe that support is a complete stranger who decides to sponsor you at the next meeting. Maybe that support is somebody that you haven't met yet. Maybe that support is somebody who you met in an online support meeting. There are so many virtual recovery communities nowadays. Maybe you have always wanted to try dance, but you've never really had the chance. Oh God. I totally did not do that on purpose. Maybe you've always wanted, maybe there's a hobby that you have always wanted to try. Now is a good time to try that hobby. Now is a good time to go get involved somewhere else. If you don't have something to put in that support column, I want you to go ahead and identify the things that you can seek out for support. So whether that is an online support meeting, a club or a hobby, an in-person support meeting, write down all of the options that you are interested in or that are available to you where you could potentially find a support system. Because here's the thing, your life is not going to improve if you don't take the steps to improve it. Your life is not going to get better if you don't work to fill these 6 pillars. It's very natural to not have all of these 6 pillars fulfilled, but that's how you're going to find success, is by working to fill these 6 pillars. Mental health, long-term recovery, it is action-based. It is lifestyle-based. I don't know why this is not made more clear in the world, but it very much is. If you want to stay mentally well, if you want to stay in long-term recovery, it's about your lifestyle, it's about your choices, and it's about your actions. Now, if you've noticed on your worksheet, the 3rd column, the 3rd part under each pillar is referred to as next step. So that column is where you are going to put your next step that you are going to take to work towards fulfilling these pillars. So as far as community goes, maybe you don't have a good support system right now, but you really are interested in volunteering at the animal shelter. Then your next step is going to be to pick a date to go volunteer at the animal shelter. You're going to write that down and you're going to give yourself a deadline to do that by. Because if we don't give ourselves a deadline, it's just words. I want you to give yourself a deadline. I want you to mark it on your calendar, and I want you to give yourself a reason to actually do this. So same thing with the next one. The next one is adventure. Why is adventure important? Because addiction is a very fast-paced, high adrenaline lifestyle. And leaving addiction and going straight into the 9 to 5 is not always satisfying for everybody. So it can be very, very important to find ways to stimulate yourself and be excited and find excitement and adrenaline and a rush in your life that does not send you to prison. So if you have adventure in your life right now, if you have something that you like to do that provides that adrenaline rush for you, go ahead and write that down. Maybe you drag race. Maybe you travel often. Maybe you love amusement parks and you go ride roller coasters every weekend, whatever that may be. If you don't have something in your life that is giving you that excitement right now, I want you to consider some things that you can do to get yourself a hobby that you do on the regular that brings you that excitement and adrenaline. For me, it's travel and it's nature. I like to be outside and I like to travel and go explore new places. I like to kayak and hike. That is what keeps that alive for me. I like to rock climb. There's even indoor rock climbing places that you can go to. But if that's not your thing, think about what is. Think about some things that you enjoy in your life. Think about times in your life when you have gotten an adrenaline rush from a safe hobby. And then fill in your next step and identify something that you can do to fulfill that pillar for you. Maybe that is to plan a trip. Maybe it's to go to the drag strip. Maybe it's to look into buying a motorcycle. It could be so many different things. Just think about what works for you. Put your next action step in there, and again, give yourself a deadline. And don't make this deadline 6 months from now, right? make it like a week or two from now. I mean, make it doable. Obviously, if your next step is to buy a motorcycle and you don't have any money right now, that's not going to be doable tomorrow. But make this next step something that is fairly doable within a short time frame for you, because I don't want you to lose focus of this. Okay, number 4 is going to be the same thing. That is your practical aspects of your life. So the practical aspects are safety, financial security, job security, and things like that. If you have those things right now, fantastic. Go ahead and write them down on your sheet. If you feel like you have a safe family life, you're financially stable, you have a good job, awesome. That's amazing. Good for you. You can check that pillar off. If you are doing pretty well in life, but you are living with an abusive spouse, that's not good. Your safety is at risk. If you are doing pretty well on all fronts, but you don't have a job and you're struggling financially, that's a risk. You're struggling to put food on the table every month, that's a risk. So go ahead and identify some things that you can do to fulfill that pillar and eliminate that risk. Again, give yourself a deadline. So maybe that is to apply at a different job. Maybe it's to go back to school. Maybe it's to get an online certification in something. Maybe it's to leave your abusive spouse. I want you to really take a look at your life and really take a look at what's working for you and what's not, and identify what you can do to change that. Number 5, separation. That is separation from negative influence. That includes people, places, and things that are dangerous to you. People, places, and things that are negative to you. That could be a friend that's using, right? But it could also be something a lot less subtle than that. Maybe everything is going good in life, but you work at a job that you really, really hate. And every day you go to work, it just brings you down. It brings your vibe down and you just hate it. That counts as something negative that is hindering your life. Okay? So take a look, fill out these boxes, fill out the sections on your worksheet, and think about, is there anything in your life right now that is impacting you in a negative way? Any relationships? Any jobs or hobbies? If there is, I want you to go ahead and identify that next step and identify what you can do to fix this problem, okay? So back to the job example, everything's going good in your life, but you have a job that you really hate and that brings you down. Your next step might be to look for other jobs. Your next step might be to write a resume so you can start looking for other jobs. It might be to enroll in school. Kind of very similar to the last pillar. They're all connected, right? Identify something that you can do to start moving toward eliminating these negative things from your life. If you have a friend that's constantly putting you down, maybe it's time to cut off contact with that friend. And number 6, goals. It is so important to have something to work toward in recovery. Even if you're not in recovery, it's so important for your mental health to always be moving forward, to always be succeeding. That is what gives you self-esteem. That is what gives you your self-worth back after addiction, right? If you don't know where you're headed in the future, you could end up anywhere. And that might not necessarily be a good thing, right? So if you have goals for your life, if you have goals for your future, go ahead and write those goals down. Do you have goals for the next 5 years? Where do you want to be financially, job-wise, relationship-wise, with your kids? What kind of hobbies do you want to have? If you don't have goals for yourself, now is the time to think about that. Now is the time to think about why you don't have goals for yourself, and now is the time to think about and come up with at least one small goal for yourself. At least one small goal. Maybe it's to get your certification in recovery coaching. Maybe it's to try dancing, a new hobby. Maybe it's to get a car. It could be, I've said this on every single one, but it could be so many different things because all of us are so vastly different. All of our lives are so vastly different. So I can't tell you what to put in this space. You have to really deeply take a look at your own life and determine what you need to put in that space. You know you better than anybody else. You know what you need better than anybody else. I know that you know the answers to these questions. You just have to allow yourself to think about them and do them. Okay, so that puts us through the 6 pillars. If you have any questions with this activity, if you're having any problems coming up with things for this activity, put them down below. I'm more than happy to help you through it. Sometimes it might take a while. You might be brainstorming on this for a couple days after watching this video, and that's okay. I just want you to remember that your long-term recovery, your mental health, your happiness is action-based. It is lifestyle-based. And creating a life you love is 100% the key to long-term recovery. And fulfilling these 6 pillars is what will create a life that you love. Okay, that's all I got for you guys today. I really thank you for joining me. Thank you for doing this activity. Like I said, if you have any questions, any comments, put them down below, and I will see you in my next one.